Welcome to Gross Anatomy.
Are we live?
We are live with Gross Anatomy Podcast, the show that explores the sights, smells, and sounds of medicine and how it pertains to pop culture.
And movies, TV, and books, and podcasts, and the entire world around us. And I am Dr. Jason Cohen. And who are you?
I am Raya O'Neill.
No way. And today is an unusual day because it's not our normal day that we're recording. And I'm actually recording from home right now before I go to work. I unfortunately have to take out someone's appendix. Yes.
I don't have to do that, but I am in Aspen, kind of living a luxurious lifestyle that is
poor baby.
I know.
I saw was that really your first? So you went skiing?
Did you see the videos? First time skiing yesterday, like ever.
Did you take a lesson?
No, and I honestly should have, but I did great. My friend is obviously a great skier and gave me a lesson. It started off really rough because we went on a green, which I know is like a baby mountain, but for me, I was very intimidated. So it took me 30 minutes to get down, but it was funny. I fell a lot. And then we went to the top to a little bunny hill and I crushed it. So
nice.
It was fun.
Mastered the bunny hill. What mountain did you ski on?
Snowmass.
Oh yeah. Snowmass is great, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Cool. Are you someone who could ice skate or?
I'm terrible on ice. So I was kind of worried and I thought I was going to break my knees, but.
Yeah. Are you a roller skater?
No, I wish. They look so cool in Venice, those girls that roller skate.
Yeah. Only the girls are cool. The guys don't look cool.
No, guys. No.
It's funny on our TikTok. One of the things I gave some advice to students about how to take to a student about taking the MCAT, the test to get into med school. Right. And I got a lot of negative hate. They're like, don't listen to this boomer, so
your advice.
My advice was to study every day as if tomorrow's the test. So you really have that level of seriousness and focus. Because with me, if I'm studying and the test is 2 months away, up till it gets closer, I'm very laid back about studying. So I was like, you really, every day you study, your mentality should be tomorrow's a test.
Right.
And I got everybody creamed me and crushed me and gave me such hate. Very few people appreciate it. They're like, don't listen to this old boomer doctor who knows nothing. And I was like, I'm not that old, am I? I guess I am, maybe. I don't know.
You're fine.
Thanks.
Is osmosis real, by the way? Speaking of studying, I used to study and put my notes under my pillow.
Thinking that it would just dissolve into your brain?
Cranium, yeah.
Did it work?
I mean, I graduated college. I did pretty good.
There you go. So now maybe that's the advice I should have given our students.
That, and actually, this is perfect to lead into our topic for the day, taking my vitamins so I'm healthy.
Yeah. My wife is a big believer in all the vitamin stuff.
Really?
She is.
Well, in the past couple of years, it's kind of taking vitamins became cool again. I feel it was always take your vitamins. Did you take your vitamins this morning? And now it's oh my God, I got to take my supplements.
Right. Now it's a thing.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when I ask patients, when I take a history from patients about doing surgery, you always ask what medicines you're on, because you need to know, especially if you're going to be operating on someone, side effects, how sick they are, this, that. But often patients neglect to tell us what herbals and alternatives and supplements they're on. And that you wind up having to drag out of them. And people forget that those things could also affect how you behave during surgery. So it's an interesting phenomenon having to remember to talk about that.
Yeah, sometimes I leave it out too. If I take vitamin C, vitamin D, does the doctor really need to know that?
Not necessarily vitamin C or vitamin D, but maybe vitamin E you do need to know, because vitamin E is theoretically a good antioxidant. Okay. And is good for blood flow and memory, maybe, and things like that. But it's also a blood thinner. It acts as a blood thinner. Yeah. So if you forget to say, or even so, and a multivitamin often has vitamin E in it and other potential blood thinning vitamins in there. So you really should let your doctor know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't take a multivitamin. I do a lot of vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D. I take magnesium.
Well, I think one of the reasons why vitamins got so big the last 2 years at least was because of COVID.
Yeah.
And the whole desire to keep everybody's immune system up. And then one of the things that we learned from COVID was, or at least some of the data was, that the people with low vitamin D levels did worse,
Right.
COVID related. So that became a big thing. And interestingly, as we age, there's a real tendency for people to have, women more than men, but in general, for us to have low vitamin D levels. And it's often not enough. People say, oh, I'm outside all the time, I'm in the sun all the time. And often that's not necessarily enough.
Yeah, I started, when I was really anemic, I got 2 iron infusions this summer. And then she gave me vitamin D. And now, like, my vitamin D levels are pretty normal.
Yeah, I started taking a vitamin D pretty regularly too, actually, during all this time.
But now, and there's these new school vitamins, there's these plant forward formulas that I guess more trendy and appealing to everyone. So they target like immune support or probiotics or mental clarity, whatever. So those have been popular.
And the interesting thing about all that is there isn't really a lot of oversight on that stuff. There are a lot of people who claim it's really good. Certainly, if you're deficient in things, you need them. If you have good levels of that stuff, I'm not sure. I think most of the time taking vitamins and supplements isn't bad, but the reality is I'm not sure how beneficial a lot of those things are. And I think it's an ongoing debate and a little bit fad-ish, potentially.
What about like adaptogen?
What's an adaptogen?
Adaptogens are like herbal. They're very popular in like Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. It's like ashwagandha, reishi, cordyceps.
I think for the most part, none of it is bad. And I'm a big believer in mind over matter. So I think if you believe it's going to work, sometimes, it can work. And then I confess, I don't know the data and the studies, but I definitely hear anecdotally about a lot of herbs and herbal remedies and oriental medicine helping with a lot of ailments. So I'm a believer in it, even though I don't necessarily know the studies and the data but I'm a believer in it. Again, if it works, do it. If it's not going to hurt you, do it. But I think it might be worth maybe we should get like an herbalist or maybe an oriental medicine doc to come on. And actually, I know a couple of people. So
yeah.
If you remind me, maybe we could get someone to come on, maybe even for just a little brief part of the show to kind of just talk about that stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got some good ones too. I was really heavy into it like 2 summers ago, and they taste horrible. Like I have the powder form of like ashwagandha and stuff, but I really think it helps.
My wife went through this whole horrible tooth issue ordeal, and she was seeing a oriental medicine doc and doing acupuncture and herbs and drinking the delicious drinks, those powdery things, and that were gross, I think. But I think it helped her. And I don't know if it helped her because it just gave her hope or gave her belief or made her feel good. But I think it helped her. Who knows? The one thing I find funny about vitamins, especially, and the article you gave me talks about it a little bit, is, I try to be plant-based, and then I may take a vitamin, and after I'm eating the vitamin, then I'll look at the ingredients and I'm like, oh, great. There's fish something or gelatin, which is the worst because I try in addition to being plant-based, I pretty much try to keep kosher too. And gelatin is made from pig or pork. Right. So every time I read that, I'm like, oh man, did I just eat that? And it upsets me.
I know. Well, that's what now these new like plant forward formulas are, avoid all those things. So,
which I think is good. And it surprises me that they make vitamins with all that stuff. But then there's this whole, there's this whole group of people that swear by bone broth.
Oh God. I mean, it's broth. I don't really know how beneficial it is.
No, I know, but it's definitely not a vegan or vegetarian thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do believe strongly in trying to be as plant-based as possible. So when you're taking these vitamins that are based on, with some animal protein or fish protein or whatever it is, it always, or derived from animal or fish or milk, it always surprises me a little bit.
Well, following up from last week's episode of Am I Dying or Not, I did see my doctor. And
yay!
Bunch of blood work. I'm not dying. No, I'm not dying. Can you believe it?
Well, I hate to break it to you though, Raya. We're all dying.
You're right. So actually I am dying.
The whole stupid thing I actually wanted to do, I'm taking a picture of us. The whole stupid thing of that you hear, oh, the only thing that's certain in life is death and taxes. I hate that saying because I don't even think taxes are certain because people find ways of not paying their taxes. Right. I think the only thing certain in life is death. We are definitely all going to die. That's the only thing that's certain. So, and the crazy thought of it is the day we're born is the day we start dying. Isn't that morbid?
Oh my God, so depressing.
You know what's really interesting is that this weekend is the 2-year anniversary of when this whole frickin' COVID thing hit. We didn't even mention that. And I think we should just mention it. And what I did on one of our posts on Instagram is I wished COVID a not happy anniversary. Not happy anniversary to you, COVID.
What was it? What did you do in the last day before the world shut down?
I think we were podcasting and we were like, it's not really going to be that big a deal. We should look at that podcast from 2 years ago and repost it or something. Or I think we were kind of making light of it a little bit about like, the new handshake is kicking each other's feet.
The feet,
remember that was a thing?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking that.
God, way to ruin the mood.
Sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
But not really, because I was also going to talk about trauma. And
the reason to think, but it might be a good thing to think about for people to seize the day.
Yeah, you're right. Like live every day like it's your last.
Yeah, because you never know. And this is going to end. So seize it, go out there and enjoy just every second, like go ski and have a blast. Go
ski and fall on your ass. And
yeah, those are some good videos, listeners. I recommend you check out. We should post them. Raya O'Neill's Aspen Adventure.
You got to have some humility to be able to laugh at yourself,
True. So what were we saying? I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say I also think it was the altitude, but I was getting very like anxious or like really nauseous, honestly, flying here. Like when we landed, I was like, oh my God, I feel sick. But I don't know if the plane was so tiny or but there's no like mask mandate here at all. And
well, it just lifted a couple of weeks ago, I think there.
Oh, but like LA is kind of similar, to be honest, but I don't know why. I was like in a big crowd the other day and I was getting really anxious. Like, no.
Yeah. Well, and you're leading into our next topic, eh?
Next topic of trauma. And
that's a good lead-in. Really good lead-in there, Raya. You're good at the lead-ins. I like that.
You know what I'm doing now. I know what I'm doing here.
There you go.
But I was reading this article and it was actually trending on Instagram and TikTok. It was #trauma recovery and trauma healing. And people were sharing their trauma experiences, whether it's been through COVID or neglect, depression, anxiety, whatever. And I always think it's interesting to hear other people's stories because there's a lot of similarities between you and a stranger, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. And I think that's good too, to hopefully help people with their anxiety a little bit to realize that, hey, you're not alone. Tons of people are even though you want to feel like you're special and you are, everybody is special in their own way, but also everybody's going through crap, whether we see it or not. Everybody's got crap.
Yeah. Well, it kind of ties into like the ashwagandha and those herbal medicines. A lot of those are being used now to treat mental health issues like anxiety and depression. My doctor actually prescribed me a new herbal protocol because I was like, I don't really want to go back on all these antibiotics. So I'm doing a full herbal protocol. And one of the things I'm going to be taking is called mood food. And I don't know if it's like a supplement or a powder or I make shakes out of it. But, it's supposed to lift your mood. I'm like, okay, let's see.
Right. I would hope it's going to lift your mood instead of put it down.
They are saying there's new ways that people are tackling trauma. And some of them are interesting. Some of them I would maybe consider trying. I don't know. Have you heard of SPECT? It's single photon emission computed tomography.
Well, that's just a type of scan. Yeah, that's just a type of scan, just to help diagnose and kind of see, what the brain activity looks like. We use that scan for different things too. We use it actually for parathyroid, to try to identify parathyroid. But it's a nuclear medicine type of scan, and it's used for different things. It's not used as treatment. It's used more for diagnosis and just visualizing the brain. It's a brain scan.
Do you it's a scan, like I have to go through a machine, or you put those little things on my forehead and you?
No, you go through a machine.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, people are doing different things for trauma now. Hallucinogenics a little bit are being used. Things like ketamine and mushrooms, derivatives of mushrooms and things like that. Even LSD derivatives are being used now for post-traumatic stuff. And in fact, I have a friend who's starting a company to try to do that I'm somewhat involved with, who's trying to do research to really prove the data, like and figure out what's the gold standard, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what are the regimens, what are the doses. It's really cool stuff. And it's not like big doses. It's using like micro dosing or small dosing in a controlled setting, under the care of a doc, to kind of treat and see how people do with dealing with traumas and different psychiatric illnesses.
That's pretty interesting. I don't know if I would do that. I'd be kind of scared.
Although I must confess, one of the things I wish I had done as a youth was some type of hallucinogenic. I never did. I'm pretty mellow and tame and wimpy.
Really?
Yeah. And so I think like if I ever make it to like 80, kind of like the grandpa in Little Miss Sunshine. Did you see Little Miss Sunshine?
Yeah, but like years ago.
Yeah, I really like that movie a lot. But I think if I ever make it to that age, then maybe or once I know all my kids are totally fine, maybe I'll, and sad and okay, then maybe I'll try it, but not till then.
Because you don't want to lose any brain cells in the meantime.
No, I want to make sure I'm around for them if they need me, at least till I know they don't need me anymore. And I think for now, I think they still could use me around, although that may just be my ego speaking. They probably don't need me, but I like to think
they need you.
Thanks. Thank you, Raya.
We need you.
Yeah. But that's interesting stuff too. All of that whole new market. But the other interesting thing that you touched upon was how it's become the norm, especially on TikTok and Instagram, for people to share their trauma and their nutty, crazy stories. And they're so, you start TikTok, for a second, and next thing you know, an hour later, you've watched like all these amazing, interesting, horror and wonderful stories about people going through stuff.
How are we doing with time?
Unfortunately, I do have to go operate.
God, so appendix, I've never, knock on wood, had my appendix out. My sister has, and I remember like vividly. She was sick all day, and we were like, "It's just your period. It's fine." She was like a teenager, and then it was her appendix.
I have some eye-opening news that I hope's not going to upset you.
Oh God.
There is, while it's not necessarily genetic, there is something familial about appendicitis a little bit. So it's not uncommon that people who have had their appendix removed, other family members of theirs have had their appendix removed. There is a familial tendency towards it.
I hopefully I missed that.
Yeah.
Mark. Exactly. Well, the next year she had her gallbladder removed.
That's familial too.
Really?
Yeah, that's really familial for sure.
Wow. Okay.
The funny thing about gallbladder is when we learn in medical school, there are ways to remember and learn things. So with gallbladder, one of the stupid things we learn how to remember who gets gallbladder disease, gallstones, is fat, female, fertile. Those are the things. I think there may be one more. It's the F's.
3 F's.
Fat, female, and fertile. There may be a fourth, and for some reason I'm blanking on it right now. But fat, female, and fertile. Oh, and 40. Fat, female, fertile, and 40 are the 4 F's of gallbladder.
Really?
That's not to say you can't see it in anybody, but that's kind of, the cluster of sometimes where we see it is in those F's. What else, Raya?
Well, it's really it. I haven't even been watching that much TV. I just finished Love is Blind season 2.
That's funny. We just did Shabbat dinner last night, and Liat, who you're friends with, who I met you because of her. That was a big dinner conversation last night with she, friends, and us. So I kind of feel like I need to watch it now.
Watch it, and then we'll talk about it. But there's this one guy, Shake. He's actually the worst.
Yeah. Okay.
But watch it.
Big premise.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about Love is Blind is it's a really cool way potentially to hire people. You know, and one thing that's done, I don't know if you know this, one thing that's done is when they cast people for like the Philharmonic for big orchestras, they don't necessarily know if it's a man or a woman. They just have it like behind a curtain. Someone comes in and plays, and based on how well they play, they hire them. So they try to keep it colorblind and sex blind and all of that, which is a pretty cool premise.
Yeah, the show's interesting. I used to say I want to go on it, but I could never. Not How I Want to Find Love.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So is that the end of Gross Anatomy today, Raya O'Neill?
The end of Gross Anatomy Aspen edition.
Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So tune in and like us and hate us and give us feedback and give us comments. And what else should they do?
Send us questions, repost us, all that stuff.
Cool.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Gross Anatomy, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can check out more episodes on the evolving sights, smells, and sounds of medicine. Gross Anatomy is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.